Hi everyone, today, we're going to take a look at the 5 best insulated tent for winter camping on the market for this year. First, we're going to show you our 5 best picks, then we'll talk about what you should look for before buying a best insulated tent for winter camping. You can find timestamps and links to all the products we mention in this video down in the description below. Let's get started. What is an insulated tent for winter camping? An insulated tent for winter camping is a tent that has been reinforced so it can keep you warm in the cold. The walls and floors of an insulated tent are usually layered with thick, weatherproof material to add insulation from the elements. Besides, many companies add a layer of reflective barrier on the inside to further seal out cold air. Winter camping is a great way to experience the outdoors, but it can be challenging to stay warm. Camping in cold weather requires extra gear like insulated tents for winter camping and preparation that most people don't think about when planning their trip. This article will help you find the best insulated tents for your next winter adventure. Number 1. Crua Outdoors Cula Cocoon Tent. Have you ever wished you could transform your favorite 3-season tent into something warm enough to handle tougher temperatures? Now you can with the Crua Outdoors Cula 2-person cocoon tent. As long as your main tent is big enough, all you do is place the Crua cocoon inside to make a cozy shelter in a shelter. And no, this isn't just hype. Although most campers haven't pushed this tent to the extreme, there were many accounts of comfortably sleeping through 30-degree nights in the high deserts. Speaking of sleep, wouldn't it be great to sleep in without being woken by the painfully bright sun? Well, now you can, thanks to the insulation which greatly reduces both sun and outside noise. Unfortunately, a tent this cool has some noteworthy drawbacks. The most obvious downside is that the cocoon is not waterproof whatsoever. But luckily, Crua solves this with their Duo 2P tent, which you can then place the cocoon inside. Alternatively, you can stick the cocoon in your current tent. Just make sure whatever tent you choose can accommodate the 6.8 by 4.4 foot length, as well as the 4 height. Pros: transform an existing tent into an insulated cocoon. Now any tent can be an insulated tent. Blocks most light and sound, sleep in and grab some extra ZZZs. Insulated floor offsets sleeping pads with lesser insulation abilities. Closable vents for airflow. Cons: not waterproof on its own, needs a pump to inflate the interior cocoon structure. There are no poles. Heavy, 15 pounds, small for 2. Number 2. Crua Outdoors Combo Max Tent. If you were intrigued by the Crua cocoon, things just got even better with the Crua Outdoors Duo Combo Max 3-person tent. First, let's review the cocoon. As its name implies, the generously padded and insulated cocoon is meant to slide inside the main outer tent. And as a testament to its efficacy, campers have used this cocoon and tent combo in 18 to 20 degree mountain weather. Yet inside, they remained quite warm. Now take all that awesomeness and combine it with the outer tent. Even though it doesn't offer the greatest insulation, what you do get is phenomenal weatherproofing. The outer fly is made with highly water-resistant, 5000HH rated polyester to keep the rain out. While waiting out storms in your incredibly cozy home away from home, you don't need to worry about stuffiness. Both the cocoon and the outer tent are equipped with several vents to maximize airflow. For extra ventilation, you can leave the door unzipped without fear of getting wet. Why? Because it's buried deep in the massive 3 vestibule. This vestibule also doubles as the perfect place for extra gear. Weighing 5.5 pounds, the outer tent is light enough for backpackers, should you choose to use it without the cocoon. Unfortunately, trying to bring them both on a backpacking trip would be ill-advised. The whole set weighs 22 pounds. Pros: amazingly insulated inner cocoon. Extremely flexible, use the tent with or without the cocoon. Spacious 7.9.8 foot floor for relaxing. Large vestibule for storage. Cons: the entire set is too heavy for anything but car camping, requires the purchase of a separate air pump to inflate the cocoon structure, extremely pricey. Number 3. Kodiak Canvas Flex Bow Canvas Tent. For a wonderful all-around car camping option, check out the Kodiak Canvas Flex Bow Tent. Because this tent is made of canvas, it's naturally great at insulating while remaining breathable. This way, you stay comfortable inside even if the conditions outside are less than favorable. In fact, the Kodiak canvas handles bad weather, including soaking rains, like a champ. There are reports abound of users who have endured downpours while remaining completely dry inside the tent. While waiting out the weather, you'll have plenty of room to spread out. The 6 feet 1 inch height means all but the tallest campers can walk around without hunching. Plus, the 9 by 8 foot floor will easily accommodate around 2 to 3 campers. It's a little small for the advertised 4, though. It's also important to point out the hefty 57 pounds weight. This is common with all canvas tents, but if you had your heart set on something lighter, you'll have to look elsewhere. Pros: canvas fabric lives up to its reputation of good insulation through all seasons, performs incredibly well through downpours and wind, 6 feet 1 inch peak height is generous and allows for walking upright, 5 foot deep vestibule for storing extra gear. Cons: the 57 pounds weight is quite cumbersome, even for a car camping tent, quite expensive, but this can be offset since it's a long-term investment. Number 4. Clam 14478C890 Tent. If you want a rugged winter shelter but you're tired of the complicated pitching process, consider the Clam 14478C890 6-person pop-up. Featuring a hassle-free instant pitch, you can quickly assemble your tent and get out of the elements. Users have confirmed that it is truly a 10-second pitch. Now you won't have to freeze while dealing with tangles of rope. With its 11.5 foot interior, you've got plenty of room to take a large group. Additionally, the generous 7.5 foot ceiling height will be appreciated by taller campers. While you're inside, you can rest assured that the thermal skin containing 60 grams of insulation per square meter retains heat while reducing condensation buildup. And if the wind kicks up, not to worry, this shelter can handle it. One camper recalled tailgating with the Clam during a nor'easter. Everyone else's tents were blown off by the gusts, but the Clam stood fast. Having addressed all that, remember that this shelter is designed with ice fishing in mind. As such, it has no floor. This won't be an issue for anyone looking to use the Clam for its intended purpose. But for the more casual camper, just know that you'll need to bring along a tarp or sleep on raised cots. Pros: instant setup for hassle-free pitch, no more frozen hands. 11.5 foot diameter rooming enough to accommodate 5 to 6 people. 7.5 height is great for tall campers. Stands up to wind. Cons: expensive price will be a deterrent. No floor, bring cots if you're not an angler. Too overbuilt for summer use. Heavy at 58 pounds, not waterproof in heavy rain. Number 5. Thunder Bay Ice Cube 6 Tent. If you're looking for the maximum amount of space, you'll find it in the Thunder Bay 6-person insulated ice fishing tent. Featuring over 13 foot in length and 7.5 in width, this tent serves as an enormous cavern on the ice. It even feels like a house. The 6.5 foot peak height lets all but the tallest campers navigate without having to stoop. Keep in mind that all this space comes at the cost of a crazy heavy tent, 62 pounds, as a matter of fact. Also remember that despite that heavy weight, you aren't getting a floor. That's because this shelter is geared towards ice fishing. So if you want to sleep in this tent, you'd better have air mattresses or cots handy. Regardless, users have expressed overall satisfaction with the insulation performance on the Thunder Bay. Not to mention, most of these users have been actual anglers, so when they say the tent can stay warm on frozen ice, they're serious. Pros: an absurd amount of space, 13 foot .7.5 with a 6.5 height, 2 doors for easy access, decently cost efficient for a tent of this size and insulation ability. Cons: heavy at 62 pounds, no floor, bring cots or air mattresses, windows are kind of small. How to insulate a tent and keeping your body warm. Some of the winter tents don't come with insulation on their own, but you can insulate them to stand up against the harsh wind and heavy snowfall. Start with floor insulation. If you're looking for the best performance, then ground insulation is something that you should consider. I use interlocking floor mats on my tent floor, but spending money on expensive equipment is unnecessary. Any closed-cell foam pad will do as long as it provides some insulation from the ground. It's a good idea to have a slightly larger pad than your tent floor, especially if you're going to be setting up camp on a snow surface. Proceed covering the walls and roof with a reflective foil. This step is not necessary for everyone. but it does provide the most warmth. It's also relatively straightforward because you can unroll a few extra feet of reflective insulation and cut to fit. I use the Reflectix brand, which is available in most hardware stores and is very cheap. You'll need to cover all the walls inside your tent plus the roof if possible. Add a rainfly. I would recommend adding a rainfly to your setup if you're doing winter camping for several reasons. The most important reason is that it prevents heat loss by providing an extra barrier between you and the elements, especially wind. It also helps with warmth because it acts as another layer of insulation, trapping additional warm air around you, decreasing cold spots inside your structure. Set up your camp near natural windbreaks. Windbreaks are natural objects that slow the speed of the wind. They can be very effective if you are in a clearing, no trees, and might even provide enough shelter for winter camping. For example, large rocks or banks facing the prevailing wind will often slow down the wind considerably. You will expect a standard tent without windbreaks to hold up under these conditions unless it is heavily guyed out with ropes. I would recommend finding something natural like trees or other vegetation to create some break if you pitch your tent in this situation. Trees are great because they slow the wind, provide shade, and are relatively easy to find. You can even improve the level of protection by digging out slightly around your tent site since snow acts as insulation, providing additional protection from cold air flowing underneath. Just make sure that no matter where you camp, you plan if a storm comes in. Invest in a warm sleeping bag. People who are camping in winter need to make sure that they have warm sleeping bags. A good sleeping bag will allow you to stay warmer at night and reduce the likelihood of hypothermia. There are many different sleeping bags on the market, so you need to pick the most comfortable one for you. Never use cotton or other types of clothing because they don't insulate when wet. They can even make you colder if your clothes are damp because the water conducts heat away from your body. It's best to invest in high-quality, waterproof outerwear that has good insulation underneath. Heat packs help keep you warm during the night. When planning on winter camping, you will need to have some form of heat during the night. Suppose the company made your sleeping bag for freezing temperatures or used it with a pad and tarp shelter. In that case, the chances are that it won't be enough to keep you warm through the night. The reason is that cold air flows towards the ground, making it hard for even well-insulated objects to retain much warmth underneath them. To counter this problem, I recommend bringing heat packs, which are hand warmers, to put into your sleeping bag at night. They last about 8 hours each, depending on their size. They can provide several degrees of warmth, which will help keep you comfortable throughout the evening. A guide for proper use of insulated tents. Before heading out on an outdoor expedition, ensure that your insulated winter camping tent is ready for use. Prior to using any shelter, check for wear and tear, such as broken zippers, and make any necessary repairs with duct tape or another suitable solution before setting off on a trip. It's also essential to inspect the poles and stakes for rust or other damage, clear away debris from the bottom of the tent when possible, and brush off dirt before packing it away in its carrying case.